Serious, what are some seemingly normal images with disturbing backstories? Asterisk asterisk attention. Serious tag notice. Asterisk jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. In asterisk asterisk any asterisk asterisk comment, parent, or child. Asterisk parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Asterisk report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. Asterisk I'm a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit, /message/compose/ to/r/askreddit if you have any questions or concerns. This father-daughter photo. The man in the photo, Franklin Delano Floyd, had married a woman and had custody over her children while she was in prison for 30 days. The girl in the photo is one of the children, whom Floyd decided to kidnap to start a new life with, leaving behind her siblings. 2 went to foster care, and 1, an infant, had never been found. The photo was taken shortly after moving, claiming her as his biological daughter, and changing their names. He later went on to marry her. It's a rabbit hole in itself, involving other abductions, murder, kidnappings, and so on. Floyd is a disturbing individual, and the photo is so eerie with the story it has. An old violin being sold at auction. At $1.5 million, it's one of the most valuable violins in the world. Not because of who made it, but because of who played it. The initials WH stand for Wallace Hartley, the lead violinist on the Titanic. This is the instrument he played the night she sank, before Hartley himself died. This violin was found floating in the debris field. Kids playing on a street in Pripyat. The entire city will be forcibly evacuated due to the explosion at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear reactor. This old photo, taken in 1924 during one of the first British expeditions to Mount Everest. Shortly after this was taken, the 2 men in the picture, George Mallory and Sandy Irvine, would make an attempt for the summit. Mallory's body will be found in 1999. We still haven't found Irvine. Alan Ruby, freshman at the University of Oklahoma in 2014, murdered his entire family on a Friday. The next day, he drove down to Dallas for the OU-Texas football game, where he stayed in a hotel with his friends, and posted this candid photo on Instagram, in what I assume would be an attempt to build an alibi. Didn't work, as he quickly confessed and received multiple life sentences. Still, I can't imagine what the people in this photo, and others who were probably in that hotel room, must felt when they learned what had happened. I've just spent 4 hours on this thread, and honestly I've creeped myself out. I'm late, but this image is of a 23-year-old woman hitchhiking carrying her infant son while apartment hunting on Mother's Day, posted in a local newspaper. It's tragic because I believe it's possibly the last photo of her alive. Less than 4 months later, she was killed by her husband during a fight. In between this photo and the murder, their son was taken away and put into foster care, where he was later adopted by his foster parents. This is the last image of a woman called Corrie Van Vegel, who went missing on her descent of the Mardi Himal trek in Nepal in February 2018. I was lucky enough to meet her in a hot spring a couple days before. She'd come to Nepal on her own to do some trekking and a yoga retreat. She only had 4/5 days of trekking left, which included a hike up from the hot springs to Mardi Himal Basa camp and then back down to the city Pokhara. I only knew she'd gone missing because I saw her missing person poster in the mountain village I was staying in a few weeks later. She was a lovely person, full of life and adventure, sociable and kind, and it's weird to think I was one of the last people she'd ever met. Rest in peace. This was from a case in Denmark a couple of years ago. The woman was a Swedish journalist who was invited by the man to come with him in his home-built submarine. This was one of the last pictures of her before he brutally killed her and dumped her mutilated body different places under the water to hide it. A crazy man with a fucked up mind. This picture of Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov, standing in an art gallery about to do a conference. Behind him is Mevlatmrtltnta, the man who is about to assassinate him. This one of Auschwitz employees. Left square bracket. This Brazilian priest attempted to travel, at the year of 2008, by Bolans, from Brazilian city Paranaguá, Rio Grande do Sul Estate to Dourado, Mato Grosso do Sul Estate, 948 kilometers according to Google. He attempted to break a record and raise funds for his organization, that did charity for truck drivers. But bad weather altered his trajectory, and he had problems with his GPS monitoring, resulting in him flying into the ocean and drowning. This is a very known history in Brazil. I know this thread is a little old now, but some morbid scrollers may find this fascinating. This photo is of Isao an actual cannibal from Japan. This photo was taken for a Japanese magazine *AFTER*. He was released from prison due to insanity. He was frequently on talk shows, reviewed restaurants for magazines and even appeared in horror films. He wrote a book on his murder of Renée Hartevelt, and you can read in explicit detail about how his mind conflated eating her to a romantic act. Note, it is not for the faint of heart, it will not leave you. Mike Hawthorne and Ivor Boob celebrating with champagne after winning the 24H Le Mans. Specifically the 1955 Le Mans, during which 84 people mostly spectators, were killed in a crash. A crash which was at least partially caused by Hawthorne. Here's an old British Pathé News video about the race, which includes footage of the crash. Last image of Sydney Loof, before she was murdered by her Tinder date. She had been cut into 14 pieces and part of her upper left arm was never found. Her body was brought to the morgue in 6 separate bags. Left square bracket. This picture was taken by the crew of a ship who saw this girl, 11, floating on a disintegrating float. Her whole family was murdered on a sailboat by their hired captain who left her to drown with the sinking boat. She miraculously made it to the Cork life float. She drifted for 4 days, no water, no food, being burned by the sun. Upon hearing that she had survived, the captain killed himself. Most all photos of the bodies on Mount Everest are something else. I can't find the 2006 video of David Sharp though. He climbed without a guide, without extra oxygen, and at the wrong time of the day. It is unknown if he reached the summit, but he ended up in the cave below summit with the dead mountaineer from 1996 nicknamed Green Boots. He basically sat there and slowly froze to death. A few groups amounting to around 40 people thought he was already dead when they passed him and some stopped for him, but could only do so much. There was definitely a video of him from one climber's GoPro identifying himself as he sat there basically on the edge of death. The few pictures of him are him sitting in the cave missing his heavy gloves, probably still alive. Heads up, there's a lot of bodies in this album. Many have been moved out of sight of the climbing routes supposedly, dropped into crevasses and such, including Green Boots who is one of the most known. This article shows a photo of 3 girls smiling together in a selfie. The light on the right hand side of the photo is the headlight of the train that hits them moments later. Here are over 100 pictures, taken by serial killer, Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer. Alcala would say he was a photographer, and convince people to model for him in remote locations. It is unknown how many people this man killed in his time as a serial killer. Any of these photos could be of people he killed. The top photo looks like a cop chillin', right square bracket. It is a fake cop who, when photo taken, just got arrested after killing 77 people, among them approximate 60 kids/teenagers, and injuring around 250 people. He set off a bomb in the city that killed 8 people and then went out to an island where a youth camp was held. He just started shooting. They were trapped on the island and had to swim to get off. Kids who didn't know who was shooting came to him for safety because he was dressed as a cop, and then he shot them. Stephen and Katie Plattl on their wedding day. Stephen with his pregnant wife / his biological daughter, Katie, and his mother / her mother-in-law / also her paternal grandmother, Grace, and Katie's adopted mother and father. He goes on to murder her, the baby, and her adopted father before killing himself. The man dressed as Santa Claus in the picture is Bruce MacArthur. He was a landscaper for most of the year and worked as the Agincourt Mall Santa during the holiday season. Between 2010 to 2017 he would lure men to meet up via a dating app, murder them, and spread their remains among planters' boxes at properties he managed. He was found guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder and is serving life in prison. This one. The guy with the sword was dressed as Darth Vader, causing the 2 students to take this pic with him. Little did they know that Darth Vader in the pic, Anton London Peterson, would go on to kill a teacher and a student with the sword he brought. The guy picked his victims based on their skin color. During his rampage, he was yelling, "I'm your father." The whole thing happened in Sweden. This is Sarah Funk, a YouTuber vlogging her trip to Cyprus's Red Lake. In the picture there is a suitcase floating in the water. Inside the suitcase 2 years later it's going to be revealed the corpse of a 12-year-old girl murdered by a serial killer and ex-military cosmetics. This guy took a picture of a bear while in the woods. Shortly after he took that photo he was killed by that same bear.